Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. Well, we got to tell you, this is our first broadcast sitting behind a brand new version of our software application that we use to broadcast with. It's put out by Spreaker, and it is completely changed up and challenging, and no matter how much we practice, we're still not comfortable with the fact that, well, actually, until we get done, we won't know whether it's doing anything at all. I'm sitting on the controls, and it's like fantasy land. Look at it this way. It's kind of like I was thinking about it. Was going to use a work analogy, where you go into work and your IT department has done their dead level best overnight to update all the software applications and everything. And in addition to updating the software, they decided to rearrange your screen. So when you log in, nothing is where it belongs, because IT thinks that all spreadsheet applications go in the upper left-hand corner and word processing documents go in the lower right, and you just have to fish around for your web browser because you're not supposed to be doing that at work anyway. I mean, they're just so think about that. It's either that or the fact that, for our younger audience who don't necessarily have computer screens at work, I can't imagine that, but maybe it's true. But surely everybody has like a smartphone or a tablet or a pad or something like that, and you loan it to your friend over the weekend because they need it. And the first thing that they do is they decide that you have the wrong apps on the first screen. So, they hold down, they move all your apps around to where they're not where what you think is they belong. And then that led me to the thought about Steve Jobs and how he viewed the world very uniquely, which is why we have a lot of the technology we have today. And one of the things I guarantee you he would have told someone, I guarantee it, is when he was told that something was intuitive, his response would be, intuitive for one person is not intuitive for everyone. Everyone has their own version of how a computer operates intuitively.
Right.
You follow me?
Yep.
I guarantee you Jobs would have come up with that response. You're listening to the Doc Owen Show. I hope.
You never know.
You never know. We're going to do our dead level best. We're going to put out 55 minutes, and after that, we'll see what happens. We will either have it or we'll have to redo it.
There you go.
But it won't be immediately. No. It's DOCOWENSHOW. We are all over social media under that moniker. We have a fabulous website, DocOwenShow.com, which has a tab on it that says Store, and that is growing. The inventory is growing. We're doing a little business out of it. It's a lot of fun. And it's built on, the principles that basically we talk about on the show. Our tagline is we deliver truth to youth. So our product lines out there in the store tend to do exactly the same thing. We have a free, no charge, absolutely zip, not a nothing charge for our apps on both iPhone and Android devices. So eyes are lighting up. There's sounds going off that we have this is a lot of fun.
Goodness.
We'll just see what happens.
Is there a bar around here?
And I guess I guess we need to, and then to top it all off, where it's just the two of us in the Hilltop studio. Say hello, Miss Surefire.
Howdy, folks. I'm managing here. I'm managing.
Uncle Bocce did something that took a lot of gall, and it just flat wore him out. So he's not going to be with us tonight, and he may well not be with us for a week or two.
That's right.
He had to have a little emergency surgery. So, I mean, he's fine, had a gallbladder removed, but So keep Uncle Botcher in your prayers.
That's right.
That
He just needs to rest up and relax.
He needs to be out there digging in the gardens as soon as possible. So we will begin our show in the 2/3 traditional manner. We'll have to do without the history, and I think the interview that we've got scheduled for tonight will fill in an awful lot of what Uncle Botcha and I were going to talk about, and that is the kind of rounding out the Electoral College discussion and talking about the United States as a republic, not a democracy.
And you know what they say, history repeats itself, so
sooner or later it'll come back around, right?
And it'll hit you again.
There you go. So we will start it off. Ms. Surefire will give us an inspirational quote, and I've got a quote on leadership all queued up. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from a site that I hadn't seen until today, and I thought, oh, these are pretty nifty quotes. It's from a website called wisdomquotes.com.
Okay, sounds like it's made for us.
And they've got like a bunch of them. So tonight's quote comes from a man by the name of Mencius. And no, I'm not talking about the Chinese restaurant in the San Antonio Medical Center area. Not that Mencius.
Okay.
He was a Chinese philosopher. He was considered the second sage to Confucius. So you might want to ask, what's sage? No, it's not the herb. It's someone who has attained wisdom.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And his quote is, friends are like siblings God never gave us.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. And
I like it.
It holds true to me, especially today with my friend at lunchtime.
There you go. Oh, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Our leadership quote tonight comes from the book the friend of the show gave us named G. And it's the title of the book is God Bless America, but it weaves in a lot of patriotic American stuff with and helps us understand the foundations that it has in the Bible and in Christianity. This one's on leadership, and it's from Andrew Jackson. All right, old Stonewall they called him. Andrew said, "The Bible is the rock on which our republic rests."
Nice.
Yep. And lest we forget that is certainly one of our challenges in today's world. And the interview that we have for you tonight is with Nico Lahood, a friend of ours that we sit down with once a month, and we were actually able to have kind of an extended conversation, so that's going to help out in the absence of Uncle Botchy. So, we'll fill the time instead of cutting it in half like we normally do. We'll just have like a 40-minute long conversation. And the first part of it is about the biblical aspect of Nico's got a new webcast out there that he is working on called R-Rated Christianity. That's a good discussion. And then the second part is about, we talked about the Electoral College and the Republic, the democratic republic that we operate in and how important it is. So that'll bring us back to the Andrew Jackson quote about the Bible being the rock upon which the republic rests. And I think you'll find it quite informative. Before we dive into maybe we should dive into the interview with Nico, and then we'll wrap it up after that because, right? I want to talk just a little bit about current events.
That's true. It'll be a little bit.
It's exactly what we'll have left if we're broadcasting at all.
That's true. You never know.
Well, we're gonna
be somewhere hung up on a cloud.
We're gonna play like we are. Yeah, I saw something the other day. You know what the cloud is? This computing cloud that everybody's talking about.
What is it?
All you're doing is working on somebody else's computer.
Oh.
Think about that.
That's kind of scary.
Day in and day out.
That could be like a scary movie.
Okay, so we're going to find out if if you wind up with 40 minutes of silence after this is over, trust me, we will not publish it.
That's right.
We'll just have to go back to the drawing board.
Learning experience.
Or you can sit there and meditate and understand that the conversation going on behind the scenes is absolutely fabulous. Go for it, Ms. Surefire. Let's talk to Nico.
There you go.
15, 20 minutes to sit down with us once a month. And
I love it.
we swap stories, some on the air, some not.
That's right. You don't want some of the off air.
But Nico is the proud papa of a new podcast. It is called. We mentioned it in the last show,
right?
That it was coming, and it has now been there.
Right.
I have a bone to pick with you about it.
Yeah, come on. Let's talk it out
in a minute.
And he hasn't even told me about his bone. See all the smiles and hugs, and then he wants to get. I got a bone with you. How about that? No, I'm teasing.
Probably do.
Well, but I was corrected because I'm technologically challenged. It is officially right now a webcast, not a podcast.
Exactly.
It's going to be a podcast soon. So someone's working on the iTunes or whatever tunes.
But we'll tell you.
Okay.
But it's on.
Well,
it's
someone's
on
working.
Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
R-rated Christianity.
R-rated Christianity.
Okay. And it's on Facebook, so it's not too R-rated. Facebook will let you do it if you check the explicit language box.
That's out of my pay grade. So hopefully, I'll talk to the person that's helping us out with that.
I'm sure they did, or if that's your audience of your first one. I mean, Nico's explained it to us. I think we talked about it last time, and it was on the air. But just to refresh everybody's memory and check mine, he sort of couches the language with the audience. In other words, you don't play, soft petunia pedals with a bunch of convicts or ex-cons.
Well, I don't even call them that. Formerly incarcerated people, right?
Okay, good, thank you.
So you'll never live beyond what you believe.
The reason I never did what you did is because of political correctness.
Well, I'm not politically correct. I'm just accurate. There's a difference. I'm not. I always tell people I'm BC, not PC. Biblically correct, not politically correct.
Okay, I'll go for
and being BC is not PC sometimes. It's not. So I take it even further. It's not just about political correctness. It's about biblical correctness for me. That's my worldview. If somebody is Islamic, they want to follow the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah. If someone is Hindu, they're going to listen to the Vedas or whatever. And same with Buddhism or whatever it is, whatever your worldview is, there's going to be some type of guidance, owner manual, somebody that is setting the foundation, the principles you follow. So for me, with a man that has a biblical Christian worldview, then I have to be able to defend why I believe that way. And so that's the whole essence of this podcast. Okay. To go to your first point, R-rated Christianity. We live in an R-rated world. We're going to talk tonight, by the way, if you like numbers, which I know you do. Yes. The statistics for Christians and for the Christian community should be alarming.
Yes.
In 7 years, Christianity has gone down from 78% to 70%. These are rough numbers. George will give you the specifics tonight. He's going to be our resident scholar. He's a neat guy, and I'll talk a little bit about him in a second. But so in that 70%, down over 8% in less than 7 years. And that was 5 years ago.
That's scary.
So who knows what it is now?
Yeah.
In that 70%.
It's an accelerated rate.
Well,
probably.
But in that 70%, only some argue 14%. If you're being generous, it's 19 or less than 20% believe in a biblical worldview. What the hell are we doing, man? I mean, think about it. Think about what I'm saying. So I profess to be a Christian. I get my faith and I work on my relationship with Christ, reading, understanding, training in, studying the Bible, Old and New Testament. And you should do that responsibly under someone that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yes.
And so even though I read the Bible, I claim to believe the Bible, I claim to be a follower of Jesus Christ, I don't want to follow what the Bible says. Then what the hell are you doing? Then what are we doing? So it's concerning. So now let's couple that with another statistic. 75 to 80% of young people that go to college with the label of a Christian, I'm not talking an atheist or anybody else, a label as I'm going to college as a Christian, walk away from the Christian worldview within 1 year of being assaulted in college. So what I say...
While they're in college, not 1 year after graduation?
No, 1 year of being in college, like their first year. Good distinction. Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah. So within a year of being there,
their freshman year,
they're saying, screw you, man, done. And then, so me, I have to say, I came the other way. I grew up religious or in a certain denomination. I won't say it now because I'm not trying to call anything out. But I was never taught to have a relationship with Christ. It was about a bunch of rules.
Yes.
And as I said last week on the podcast, rules without relationship breeds rebellion. Right. And I was the telltale sign. I was the poster boy for that. And so I came to Christ out of tremendous pain, asking a lot of questions, pissed off. Mm-hmm. I told him at times to go F himself. I mean, I was pissed. He's not freaking out over me. He knows. But it was, so I came to him a very different way. And I was looking for Christianity not to be true. Because I'm angry. Because how could a good God allow my brother to be murdered? What do we do to deserve? The question why? The Job question that some people don't understand. The book of Job is really a test for God. God's character is on trial there. It's not Job's faithfulness. It's a whole different assessment on that. But I'll regress. I'll talk about that on the podcast at some point. But so for me, I was pissed off. I was angry. And I thought Christians were a bunch of fake-ass people. I did. I mean, bottom line. Because they were. I mean, when you look at these numbers...
You were absolutely correct.
I was correct. I don't want to paint with a broad brush. There are some sincere, God-loving, Jesus-following, prayer warriors that live it out. So please, let me be very clear for that. But there are a huge number of them that are not persuaded. Paul calls it being convinced in Corinthians and Timothy, being convinced by the worldview that he was professing. There's people that are not convinced. And so if you're not convinced about something, if you're not going to buy it, vote for it, follow it, support it, recommend it. If you're convinced by a plumber, you're going to recommend the plumber. If you're persuaded by a politician, you're going to vote for them and tell other people to vote for them. If you're persuaded by this car over that car, you're going to spend your money here. So we are living a world of constant persuasion and convincing. I mean, it's the ultimate multi-level marketing deal, right? Without it being fake and without it being a pyramid. Christianity is something that you make an appeal to people through your behavior and through your words and through your understanding of what it means. 2 Corinthians 5 tells us that, being an ambassador for Christ in a foreign land. God's making his appeal through us. So for me, my calling is to be real about it. Not to be a fake-ass Christian. I don't have a fish on the back of my car. I'm all tatted up. I kind of talk rough sometimes. I get it. I never use the Lord's name in vain. I don't curse people, but sometimes I cuss. Get over it. And I want to reach people where they're at so I can convince them that this guy named Jesus Christ that walked on this earth, historically, 2,000 plus years ago, was exactly who he said he was. And I put that on trial. When I was asking my questions, Doc, I put Christianity on trial, like other people have done. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't the first person to do it. Lee Strobel, Jim Warner Wallace, Josh McDowell. There's other people, apologists, people that defend the worldview of Christianity. Put it on, and for me as a legal guy, as a prosecutor that looks at evidence, I put Christianity on trial. And it didn't get any freebies. It didn't get a freebie.
Right.
You don't get a pass because I used to be, I didn't want it to be true. I can't say that enough. No, because let me tell you why. Yeah. It was the same reason why other people don't want it to be true. Because then what am I going to do? Now I got to live my life differently.
Exactly.
I don't get to be my own God. I don't get to make up my own rules.
Right. Well, I was in charge till I accepted it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's look, if we're talking real, then that's real.
Yep.
That is exactly what the issue is. That's exactly what the issue is. And it was for me too. So for me, because I've seen the transformation of following life the way the Christian worldview says, to studying the guy named Jesus Christ, and to do what he says to do, and to be persuaded that when we're leaving this earth, and Doc, FYI, we're all leaving this earth, man. Just that, you are too. I got it. I know. I know. Debbie Downer.
Bubble after bubble.
I'm sorry, brother. I speak length of days over you, brother. He cussed in Spanish, so it's okay. But my point is, it matters. And so what I would not receive is something that C.S. Lewis said and some other people said, and I think Lee said it also, Strobel. Christianity, it's either infinitely important, meaning it means everything to somebody or should, or it ain't worth the crap. And that Jesus was the ultimate liar and we're all full of it. Think about it, because he's not a good person if he's not telling you the truth.
No.
If he's not who he says he is, he's not a good person. He's a nut jobber. He's the devil himself. He claimed to be God.
Right.
He said, "If you've seen me, you've seen me and God are the one. Me and the Father are the one.
Right.
I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through me." So he's either a fraud and a piece of whatever you want to call him, or he is who he is, and then it has eternal purpose and influence and effect on your life and your children's life. So it was that type of analysis, Doc, And you and I have talked about my anger after my brother was murdered and all that stuff and that journey of going through that functional angerholic world that I self-diagnosed myself with. And so like I said, man, it's just a real journey with Christ. I came very differently. I asked every questions. I didn't give any freebies. I don't play golf, but no mulligans. Is that what they're called, mulligans?
Yep.
Christianity.
Do-overs in current terminology.
Okay, sorry. Well, there were no do-overs.
No, mulligans, absolutely correct. Yeah.
But whatever the terminology is,
absolutely
the Christian worldview didn't get it, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm totally persuaded, because I used my legal mind when I started this journey.
You've used a term often that I'm not sure my audience understands, and I wasn't sure that I did either.
Well,
and that is the apologist, or as you refer to
apologetics.
The apologist, by name, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you. Great question. That's why you do what you do.
Drive down into that.
I'll tell you exactly. It won't take long. Okay. Apologetics means defending the faith. You can be an apologist for Islam. You can be an apologist for Christianity. You can be an apologist.
Because when I first heard you use it,
it's not apologizing.
When I first heard you use it, it called up a negative connotation.
Yeah, apologist, apologia is the word in Greek. It means to give an answer.
Okay.
Apologia is the Greek word.
Okay.
So when someone is an apologist for whatever worldview or position, that means you're giving an answer.
Got it.
For me as a Christian, 1 Peter 3:15 and 2 Timothy 2:15 tell me and actually state that if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you need to be a litigator for him. You need to be an apologist.
Give an answer.
It came very natural to me, right?
Yeah.
And so 1 Peter 3:15 says, always be prepared. Let me use that word again. Always be prepared to give an answer to who? To whomever asks you.
Correct.
Why you have the hope. Not just in church.
I get
not
that.
When it's comfortable.
No.
Not when it's always be prepared to give an answer to everyone why you have the hope you do in Christ or in God. Right. In 2 Timothy 2:15 says, do your best to show yourself approved to God. Right. Listen to this part. A worker, meaning you have to work, who is not ashamed, that's key, to properly handle the word of truth. And so many people that wear the banner of Christian do not properly handle the word of truth. And I think that's a disservice. It leaves a false impression and lets the people like Bill Maher and Sam Harris out there ridicule, talk down, be rude, be disrespectful to Christians. And then there's no one there to give an answer. And then he'll get some schmuck on there that claims to be a Christian that's not prepared for the discussion and look like a fool. And then Bill goes, "Hey, I told you I was right."
Which he does on purpose. I mean, he's
of course, Daddy. To me,
it's his show.
I would rather, in God willing, in a perfect world. First of all, I would love to talk with Bill Maher. I would love to. Man,
absolutely.
Not to put him in his place, just a reason.
Have a conversation.
I would love to have a conversation.
There are some things he's not unreasonable about.
I agree with him on 3 issues only, but yes, you're right.
Well, I mean, but he kind of comes and goes every once in a while. I don't watch him because I don't watch television.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are some things that he's fairly lucid on.
Look, he's obviously an intelligent man.
Exactly.
He already has his agenda, his mind made up, and so he's charismatic. He's funny at times, so he can sell it well.
Yeah.
And then if your opponent is not trained up and ready to take it, well, then you look like you're something better than you are, and that I don't mean that to be mean.
No, it's a setup.
Now, somebody like Joe Rogan.
I take a great risk coming in here with you every time.
What is that? You're afraid you're going to lose your wallet or what?
No.
You better keep your wallet to yourself.
Talking about Bill Maher, he's not going to have anybody on that's intelligent. I take great risks.
Hey, thank you. I think that was a compliment. Thank you, Daddy. Well, Joe Rogan is another guy. I don't follow any podcasts. I don't have time. But I do watch his webcast every once in a while, depending on the topic.
Get a snippet, yeah.
And he seems to be a man that really is asking legitimate questions. He has legitimate questions, and there's answers. And so someone like him, I think, would have a wonderful conversation of, hey, tell me about this Christian worldview, because I've had some people on, I've seen some people that really don't do it justice. I mean,
I get it. Yeah, sure,
and it's frustrating for me because there's answers for people. And that's when I talk to young people or older. I just tell them, look, here's the analogy I used last night when I was talking to a group of people, 25 folks, young people that claim to be atheist and agnostic, and sharing my testimony in my faith. And it was not very PG rated. I just talked the way I talk. I told them, I go, let me tell you the example that I see all the time. You'll get someone that has a secular worldview or a different worldview that will just pick anyone that has a banner of a Christian on them. Oh, you're a Christian? Great. Well, what's the answer to this question? Well, I don't know. Aha, Christianity sucks. Well, no, it doesn't. I do. I mean, that's like, here's the analogy, Doc. Well, think about it.
It's not a bad course just because you flunked it.
Well, hey, brother, let me tell you the analogy.
No, you're right.
So I asked you about a calculus question, and you don't know it. Do I say, aha, calculus sucks, it's not true? Well, what don't you know about that? But something you don't know about.
The law.
Well, but do you understand my point?
Sir,
so if someone asks me about calculus and I don't know the answer, it's not that calculus isn't true. It's not that there's not an answer. It's just Nico Lahood doesn't know it. So that's the analogy I give with Chris. So you need to talk to someone that's very well versed in different aspects. Remember, the Bible is a historical book. You cannot read that book in 2019 when English wasn't even around back then. When in the Old Testament it was written in Hebrew, in ancient Hebrew. In the New Testament it was Greek. You have to understand what they call hermeneutics. That means the translation, the study of translations of not just the Bible, of any antiquities books. You have to understand, or at least be familiar with textual criticism, meaning that if you don't have the original writing, how do you can tell that the duplicate that is the same and accurate to the original? Doesn't just apply to Christianity and the Christian books.
No, it does.
To all antiquities, all old books. And so it's an objective study of these things. You have to understand culture. You have to understand language. You have to understand the society at that time. Something that made sense to them might not make sense to us. So you have to, context matters. So someone could be in a situation where, I give the example where I punch somebody. Well, if you came in on a piece of that, they'd be like, Nico just committed an assault. But if you were in 10 seconds earlier, or if you stayed 10 seconds after, you would have seen the person that I punched had a knife at my stomach. I punched myself in self-defense. So did I punch them? Yes, but it wasn't an assault. Now it was self-defense. Context matters. I mean, so in the Bible too. So what we do is we read the Bible in English. And I'm not saying you make up your own. There's only one interpretation of the Bible, period, end of story. But our job is to study what that is.
But that hermeneutics that you as you go through, that's part of what makes it challenging to interpret. I mean, that's part of what makes it challenging to answer those questions on your own without guidance, as you referred to earlier.
Look, reading the Bible will bless you. I promise you.
Oh, I get that.
But wisdom comes from knowledge plus understanding. Think about it. Let's let that sink in. So true wisdom, the practical side of problem solving, as my brother George says, my buddy George, who'll be on tonight with me. The practical side of problem solving. Wisdom is not just knowledge, but it's understanding that knowledge. So I might have knowledge of the law. I can regurgitate the penal code. I have it memorized to have a photographic memory. But if I don't understand that knowledge, I have
what?
Yeah, I don't have wisdom. I don't have a practical application of problem solving.
That's right.
And so that's what's missing here, is just a real practical approach. And then being real. People think that to be a Christian you have to be some fake ass, and I'm just not. The Bible study that I lead for 9 years now, 9+ years. It's raw, man.
Well,
I mean, the words I use in that study I would not use on your podcast because I don't want to offend your virgin ears. But I'm just saying I never.
Well, I
cursed.
think there's a lot of people that listen to my podcast that could stand to hear it.
Okay, well, I don't know the rules of podcasting.
That's one of the reasons
what you can say and not say.
That's one of the reasons that we promote. Yeah. And before we get off the subject, I started off by saying that I was going to have a conversation with you about something.
Okay. Oh yeah, you would tell me that.
So this R-rated Christianity thing, you did it on Thursday night at 8 o'clock,
Last Thursday,
right?
Yes, sir. 8:30.
Okay. 8:30. Is that a standard?
Great question. We're working on that. Today we're starting at 9 because my buddy
9
George, 9 p.m.
Okay.
He is teaching to some young adults. I know you're asleep by 7. I get it. Oh.
We're on our 6 years we've been Thursday night at 8 o'clock. So I was wondering what I did to offend you.
Oh, I didn't know that, brother. Every week? You're every week? You're kidding me.
No, it's a great time slot. Come on down.
Well, see, I didn't know that, Daddy. Well, here's the deal.
With what we're doing now.
Listen to my brother's podcast first. Mine's recorded. So you come watch me at...
We're doing the same thing.
You're 8:30, right? You're 8:30?
8 o'clock.
8 to what?
9.
Well, we usually start at 8:30. So listen to my brother here. And
I always complain about the Spurs having their games on Thursday night. Surely they knew.
I had no idea.
Of course you didn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any difference because 90% of our audience listens to it as a podcast.
As a guy after.
After. They have no idea when the live is taking, nor do they care. Yeah. Just like yours when you were talking about 3 and 7.
Yeah, 3 and 7.
That's the beauty of what we're doing is it lives for a long time.
I'll tell you, Doc, it is a beauty.
But I just had to take...
Thank you for busting my balls on that deal. Well, I'll tell you, the beautiful thing for me is when I get messages of transformation over the years. When someone says, I'm a better husband, I'm a better daddy, I'm a better employee, I'm a better employer, I've overcome this challenge, here's my new identity, I was formerly incarcerated. And so, I mean, the Bible study that we've been facilitating, George and I, for 9+ years, we have a former Aryan Brotherhood, former incarcerated people, doctors, lawyers, Uber drivers, employers, employees, business owners, and all these vast diversity of people are all there to listen to this about this guy named Jesus. And how to practically implement what he taught to be real. Not to be a fake ass, to be a real, authentic, bold, courageous, humble, meek.
Follower of Christ, that's why you're reaching people. Is because the hard part.
You said hard. That's all that.
Yeah.
Could be a soft one too.
That's all right. We'll cut it out. The hard part. The hard part for most people.
Right.
Is getting this Jesus, this God thing, all the way internalized.
Amen.
So it becomes part of you. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's called the living word. It's got to live through your life.
Yes. I mean, so what you do on a daily, all the time, represents what that is.
And look, church people get pissed off at the way that I preach sometimes.
So until they know that they can do it in their own tongue.
One of the greatest compliments I got, my brother, is this. When this guy goes, man, Nico, I didn't know you had such a strong understanding of Scripture and that you had a relationship with Christ like you do.
It took me about 5 minutes to figure that
out. Well, this guy didn't say that. Because I met him in a gym setting. So we were training, boxing, fighting, CrossFit, all that stuff. And I said, why do you say that? Because I invited him to the Bible study.
Well, you know he was a DA? I mean,
no, this is before I was DA.
Okay.
This is before
me. He was a lawyer.
He knew me as a lawyer. Lawyer guy that CrossFits and trains martial arts. I mean, that was it. And so... And then the next day he came back after Bible study. He goes, man, I didn't know you. I go, why? Because you're just a regular guy. I was like, I didn't know I had to be some goofy SOB to love Christ, man. And this is what matters. Now, I will tell you, church people get a little worked up on me.
Well, of course they do.
Because
they get worked up on me
because I call them out. And Ephesians 4:15 says, speak the truth in love. And so I say this lovingly. We need the pulpits on board. And I get into these discussions. And if you go back and watch the first podcast, I get into this discussion of Ephesians 4:29 and what it really means and what unwholesome means and what does it mean and the language that was used at different times and cuss. And I'm not listen, Doc.
No.
I am not advocating to cuss. I'm just saying Scripture says to consider your audience. So if I'm doing a prison ministry, it's a different style, same message.
Of course it is.
Same message. If I'm behind a pulpit, and by the way, I have been honored to preach at a number of churches. I'm not dropping one F-bomb unless it's forgive.
No.
That's the only F-bomb you say in church. Because considering your audience, when you are being invited into someone's home, you act the way they ask you to. Now, the message is the same. My passion is the same. But I adjust my delivery because of the audience. Now, on this podcast, I'm not going to talk like I do in a prison ministry or to 45 to 55 men every Wednesday morning. But I'm also not going to talk like I'm behind a pulpit because I'm not. I'm in this space of a conversation, and I want it to be authentic.
The message is the same.
And the message is always the same, but I'm going to use this real, authentic style that I can back everything I do, and you know I can biblically.
Yes, sir.
And I humble myself every day, my brother. And the guy tonight, I wanted to talk about him earlier, the guy tonight, George Arujo, is responsible for the most of my theological and spiritual, not relational, but spiritual growth and understanding of Christianity. Cool. Historically and theologically, he's one of my best friends, and he is a scholar among scholars. He's brilliant. You'll be blessed by listening to his mind. Most people Google things. I Arujo things. You know, I just call him when I got a question.
I lost mine, so I know exactly
where
you're coming from.
You know what I mean, brother?
Exactly.
You had a friend like that too?
Yes, sir.
Well,
and I miss calling him.
You'll see him again. But so he's going to be on tonight regularly, and so him and I have been having these R-rated conversations for about 10 years now. And so what we want to do is have those conversations on camera.
There you go.
Come on into our world.
Yeah.
And that's applying Christianity and being harsh when we have to be harsh and being loving when we have to be loving, being humble all the time. and then molding ourselves into an expression of Christ. I hope so. Well, look, it matters to my kids. Let me tell you, I'll say this, and you take this conversation where you want to take it. I've said this many times. I don't remember if I've said it to you, so bear with me. I saw a lot of, I'm going to say it, I saw a lot of shit when I went to DA, brother. Okay? A lot. I mean, babies' death, I've shared them with you. Vile, ugly, depraved, hard, seared consciences, depravity of the human condition, evil, okay? And as ugly as the stuff that I saw.
The iceberg in the media.
Oh, yeah, just the tip. Just the tip
I
down.
know, I got it.
And as much ugliness and evil that I saw, nothing kept me up at night. Like, truly kept me up at night. Like the thought of the world that I'm going to leave back to my children and grandchildren. That literally, I'm telling you, I mean, it literally keeps me up at night.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Studying. I don't watch any TV. I watch YouTube. My YouTube is my TV because I'm studying, I'm reading, and having discussions with George, and he's you just, I think you're really going to be impressed with him. But it's just that's me. So I owe it to my kids, my grandkids. I owe it to your lineage to do our best to leave.
Absolutely.
To leave this world a little better in a very real way.
Can I shift the conversation on you?
It's your show,
I got a burning question that I want you to answer for the audience.
Okay.
We've been doing the last couple of weeks, we took up this thing about the Electoral College. Don't know whether, really shift gears on you.
Oh, yeah.
To the legal aspect.
Yeah.
The Electoral College and its importance and, what it means.
Right.
Don't know whether you know it or not. There's a movement out there.
To get rid of it?
Well, the National Popular something compact that all the states, that they're pushing all the states to sign into. And if they get a number of states that have the majority of the electoral votes, then, they think it's going to become law. I don't even want to go there. But there's a big movement for it. So we took up on the show explaining the Electoral College and why it's important.
Oh, good. It's very important, by the way.
It's extremely important.
It's critical to that.
If you want to be
constitutional republic, it's critical.
Now,
what?
You just said the word that I wanted to ask you.
Oh.
What bothers me, or what I've always kind of put the emphasis on, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. If I were typing it out, this would be in bold italics.
Right.
And to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God, by the way.
Yes, sir. But that, and to the republic, I don't think the vast majority, certainly of the young people, old people, I think that what that means has been completely lost.
But that's because we don't teach civics anymore. We've dumbed down our society for a reason.
Help me explain. Explain to the audience.
Okay, you've explained what it...
Well, because they say...
Electoral colleges,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir. We got that.
It's representation.
But I'm tired of hearing that we live in a democracy.
Well, we don't. We technically don't. We have democratic ideas and things that we work with, but we don't live in a democracy because the populist vote doesn't control, and you don't want it.
Republic.
That's right. Constitutional republic, right?
Yes,
sir. But all I'm saying is this. If you get rid of the Electoral College, one or two things, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I haven't put a lot of thought into it, will happen. You will either have a emptying out of the middle of America, and everybody's going to move to California and New York, because they control, right? Because that's where the population. Because think about it, the populist vote. Everybody made a big deal because Hillary Clinton won the popular vote barely.
Oh no, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, but when you think about the electoral, the colleges in the states that President Trump won, I mean, it wasn't even close.
No.
But density wise, population wise,
I'll refer to it as the top 10 metropolitan areas in the country are going to elect your officials.
That's exact. And then everybody else becomes irrelevant.
That's correct.
And then you do not have representation without taxation and all the other stuff that we.
So if you like the way those top 10 cities are run,
you better either move to them so you can change the vote. So all those cities,
but they won't.
But if the people that have a different opinion move to those cities, they're going to be overpopulated, and the rest of America becomes obsolete. I mean, it becomes a ghost town.
Okay.
Either you move to the areas that would control, right, to try to offset the vote.
Yeah.
Or you become obsolete. It's one of the two that happen. You understand my point?
Oh, I understand your point, but I'm
you can't get rid of the Electoral College.
Well, no way.
You can't. Your voice has to matter.
That's what our forefathers realized, and that's why it was set up that way.
They're brilliant men.
So what does that have to do with calling it a republic?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, and to the republic for which it stands. Where's the republic in our United States?
You're asking, or are you making a statement?
No, I'm asking.
You know the
Not
answer.
for me.
Well,
Well,
let's talk about that. I'm not as versed on that as you are. So you got it. Talk to me.
Yeah, you are.
Well, I mean, give me where you're going with it, and then I'll have a comment, I promise you.
I view it as the fact that a democracy, a true democracy, is basically mob rule. There's no definition to it. Just like you're saying, it's a majority, not mob rule. Let's call it
majority rules, right?
And that's what we're talking about.
Sheer numbers.
Eliminating or overcome. We don't eliminate it, but we overcome it. We control it with the way the Electoral College is set up. So my view of the republic is the states. In other words, as we put the states together into this thing called the United States, now we have a republic versus a true democracy.
I see what you're saying. You're right. No, I got it. Yeah.
Make sense?
There's a guy out there named David Barton. I'm sure you know who he is.
I do know who he is.
He's
never met him, but he's phenomenal.
I have met him. I've been blessed to meet him. He's a super nice guy. Humble as the day is long, man.
Yep. Look, he comes across that way.
He's exactly the way he comes across.
He knows his stuff.
Knows his stuff. He has over 100. I've been to his museum.
Oh, okay.
He has over 100,000 original documents of our founding government and country.
That's his life.
It's phenomenal, and we need to be taught that. Let me tell you what he said. This is a side note. Sorry, I'm digressing. He gave me this booklet. It was the 8th grade exit exam.
Oh, yeah.
I told you about that last time, didn't I?
No, but I know where you're going. Yes, sir.
It was the 8th grade, listen to me, exit exam from 1920 and before.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I looked through it and I said, what the hell is this, David? And he said, that's the 8th grade. Everyone had to pass that. I said, there's no way. I go, I have a JD, which doesn't mean crap, because schmucks have JDs. But I'm just telling you,
there's schmucks for PhDs too.
Well, I know.
It works everywhere.
Right? Stupidity has got, you can get a master's in stupidity. Right. Well, I said, this is insane. He said the age of adolescence ended at 13 back then. Mm-hmm. Now it ends at like 33 because you have a job and you have a house by that age.
Yeah.
But at 13, you got into your profession. You were being apprenticed.
You were being apprenticed.
You were starting to learn your craft. Yeah. But you were educated. I mean, that test, he said they give it to PhD students. He didn't say this word, for shits and grins. That's what he meant to say. And he says it's a joke how many people can't pass it. Nobody. Yeah. It's insane. But that just tells you that we were educated. We were so educated back then. So our founding fathers wanted an educated father and a moral and educated citizen.
Well, it's the whole thing is the whole thing is based on that. I mean, that's the whole deal.
We just have to have conversation. And so my hope, going back, by having these conversations, of real, authentic, and R-rated conversations, and encourage people to have R-rated prayers with God, not disrespectful prayers. I mean, God is never going to say, what did you say? What did you do? I didn't know that. Hey, trust me, he knows.
Sure he does.
When I mean R-rated, just being authentic. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm saying you show respect and reverence to your daddy if you accept him as that. But just have these conversations. He's not freaking out over us. He designed this.
There are times when
and then we get into this discussion.
You may not like.
What?
There are times when I start a prayer, with silently,
right?
With you may not like my language.
Oh, he's not freaking out over
it. That's more for me.
Yeah, you're giving him a heads up. I'm going to vent.
Dude.
I'm going to vent.
And I'll start it with dude. Yeah. We need to talk.
Oh, man.
I do that in church. I mean, I'll talk like that in church when you're talking about it. I give them the same level, some folks that are in church, the same level of angst that you do, I'm sure. I do it from a wise cracker point of view.
Yeah, well, but here's the deal. It's not that I'm trying to put anybody in their place.
That's right.
I'm just going to be real. What people are tired of in politics and in the church, they're tired of the show.
Yep.
And I tell people, and I've said it on many times I talk, we need to stop playing church and start being the church. Right?
Nice.
Forget that. I don't need another energy drink sermon. I want a sermon that brings healing to my soul, my mind, will, and emotion. Don't pump me up. And I do that 5-hour energy, and then I go out there, and then it wears off, and then I have this big crash.
Challenge.
That's what happens. That's the ebb and flow.
Through that process of challenge.
Well, then you have true transformation. Then it's not a Band-Aid. There's healing, and I've experienced it, and I've seen it. But people have to understand it. They have all these preconceived notions that are wrong, and it's a shame. Including Bill Maher. Tag him on this crap, man. Let him know I'd have a conversation.
I will tag. You're learning the language.
Is that tag, right?
Yeah, you're learning the language.
Back in my day, that means you mean tag somebody with
which is short for hashtag.
Okay, I don't know that one. Okay, I don't know that one yet. Well, I mean, I got
it's right here. It's a pound sign. When they told you hit the pound sign on the phone when you were learning,
I remember that one.
Okay, that's what.
Okay, well,
it's now been transformed to being a hashtag and shortened in the lingo.
Well, see, but in context, when you were a young boy, it didn't mean that. Context changes, right? Based off society. Like to my pop, I've given you this example.
There was a pound sign on the phone.
But there was no social media back then. I know.
Zero. You had to go.
I remember
all the way around. First, you had to ask everybody else to get off of the line.
Brother.
So you could make the call.
Well, my pop, for some people, at some point, 911 was just 911.
Yeah.
And then at some point in our society, it became an emergency.
Yeah.
Then at some point in the society, it became 911, the Twin Towers.
Right.
It's still just a 9 next to a 1 next to a 1.
Right.
But depending on the context and the social construct at the time, that it changed.
What does it mean to you?
No difference. Well, not just to me, to society.
No,
but what I'm saying is we have to do that same analysis.
Artificial you.
Right. Okay, I got you. Yeah. We have to do that same analysis in the Bible if we really want to understand it.
It's
no different.
We did it when we first started out, and then we'll call it a day. We did a series of shows because I went back. My target audience still is always millennials. So I had to figure out, okay, it got their age group and figure out where they were on 9/11, the terrorist attack. Mm-hmm. Okay, to see if I could put that into a category, you know.
Diapers.
The same turning point for me.
What is millennial? It's 18 to what?
It's like 16 to 26. You know, right in that.
What am I? What's my generation? I'm 46. Nobody knows. Okay. You don't even have one.
No.
His is dust.
There's so much.
There's
so few of us.
The dust.
It's just, we call ourselves Bubba and Billy.
I'm sorry. I
Bubba and the boys. It's all good. But the first few shows I did were because I kept hearing about all these things as if they were history. What occurred in the 60s, what occurred in the 70s, what occurred in the 80s. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That's not history. As long as I'm alive, that's my life. It's not history.
It's true. But for them it is, though.
So I did this thing called, History as Life in the 60s.
That's good.
And I gave them the context of what they had probably learned about the 60s. And I said, no, yeah, I was there.
You were there.
Let me give you
But you're young, though. Can I ask you? You're not a woman, so I can ask you. Unless you feel like being a woman. It's up to you.
I'm 74 years old.
Are you really?
Yeah.
God bless you, Daddy. You got 20 more years to speak over you. How about that? Is that cool?
I figure that's
20?
I figure that's about right.
I
grew up that 74. Most of the men in my family have always died by the time they're 55. So when I hit 55, I was like,
I'm on borrowed time. Yeah.
Well, my doctor says, playing with house money.
Yeah.
He said,
but
for 20 years now.
Is he taking care of himself? I'm going to talk
Pretty much.
No, I'm pretty much nothing.
Pretty much.
Don't half-ass it, Doc.
Not totally.
Half-ass it. Come on, man.
Not totally.
I try.
I'll work on it.
Well, I'm not there. I always figured if I made 75, I was in good shape. And that would be a real stretch, and I'd be happy to be there.
Oh, no, baby.
But now I'm there, and it's like...
You have grandchildren, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Okay, how old are they?
I have great-grandchildren.
Do you really? Damn, you started young. My pop's 82. My pop is 82. And
I'm shooting for 100.
Are you good? Okay.
I think that's a viable.
Well, then you better. But if you're going to strive for that, you got to do something to strive for. You can't just walk along. Okay.
No. I
exercise, eat right. I'll talk to him about it after. We're going to do a show on health. We should do a show on health.
I have a glass of wine with dinner every night.
That's
What's
okay.
the problem here?
But study the blue zones. Study the blue zones. You know what those are?
The what? The blue zones?
Blue zones.
Not by that tag.
Those are the areas.
As you would put it.
No, I would not put it. Those are the societies and the areas like Okinawans and the Hunts people that live
long time.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so you study
all
blue
natural
zones.
for sure.
All natural.
So I
whole
get
food,
that.
plant-based.
I've made all those changes. Okay. I've made all of those changes.
And so you don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, so if I look at
every
the
time
people
the doctor
that live,
wants to prescribe something, I'm like,
there you go.
I'll get back to you on
Amen.
that.
Well, there's a natural
Let me
way
see
to
if
do
I
it.
can find a natural source.
It's there.
Yeah.
So that's all.
No, I'm in on that. Been in on that for ever since I had a stroke when I was 41. That kind of got my attention.
Yeah.
And then,
Did you really?
Yeah. When I was,
so you were on track.
With
your family member, you thought for sure.
Well, when I fell out, the whole left side of my body went boom.
How long did it take you to get better? Because I have a dear friend of mine that
3 years, no son.
Okay, I'm so glad you told me that. I'm serious. You blessed me right now, Doc. I have a dear friend of mine.
That's one of my testimonies.
Yes. No, absolutely. Well, I have a friend that's within 6 months of a stroke.
We lose it?
And he's still battling it. And someone falsely...
How long? 6 months?
Less than 6 months.
Oh.
So it
Did he lose speech? Did he lose...
Nope, didn't lose speech, just lost the control of his left side.
He's fine. Perfect.
Come on now. I'm going to encourage him. Good.
It took me for about 5 years, really. My left foot, every once in a while, when I got very tired or was under a lot of stress, which was what caused mine in the first place, or contributed to it, my left foot would start to tingle like it was going to sleep.
Right.
And I would sit there and I would go, okay, I'm going to go play golf.
Good. Well, I want you working out. I want you eating right. We're going to talk off air. I'm going to revamp your whole lifestyle.
You do every time we talk.
No, but I mean, just your mind. I want to revamp your body. I got 20. Now you told me 100.
Yeah.
You got 26 years.
We're going to be having this conversation.
Okay, come on.
Somewhere.
You won't have any teeth. It'll be in diapers and no teeth, but we'll still have it.
You're telling by the way.
I'm teasing. It's okay. You don't have to brush them.
No. Anytime I get a toothache, I just send them out.
I love it, brother.
Let's call it a day, man.
Okay, my man.
Thank you, Mr. Lahood.
Thank you, sir.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you guys. See you next time.
There you go. He's probably, as I'm going to put it in her very opening inspirational note, he's probably the youngest sage that I have ever known. He's a very wise young man.
That's true. That's a good point.
Is that a good, bring it full circle?
Yep.
Well, I've got like 3 minutes or something like that left. Actually, I just got the 2 minute sign. So
more or less,
that's not a lot of current events to discuss. All I will tell the audience is pay very close attention. And as we have known for a long, 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 long time, do not believe everything you read or hear or even see on anything that might be considered a normal news channel or a normal channel. If you're not getting your information through various and sundry means, through the internet, through internet radio, or good solid conversations with friends, then I think you are missing the point. All of the rest of it is just kind of like smoke and mirrors and theater. But there is an awful lot going on behind the scenes, and there is the United States of America at stake, literally, because and this is a global effort. When you see the president traveling around, he is recruiting members to the new, what would be called an alliance, and it's an alliance of folks that are putting together their efforts to bring down the evil that is out there in the world. And it is absolutely out there. It's in the spiritual world. And we have to do things within our natural world, which is where we live and know each other and our being in our natural world, that protect us from these evils of the spiritual world.
I do see a lot of that nowadays, even more so.
You really do.
Good versus evil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very apparent. Mm-hmm. And so the more apparent it gets, the more likely we are to have some very major clashes go on that may or may not be explainable in a natural sense. So, cuddle up to God. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.